Hey, check it out. Everything that you do, the same process occurs in it. So like when you draw, it goes through this process of being very rough in the beginning and becoming more refined. And you may not notice that in the beginning when you do that because you're so focused on the end goal and trying to figure out what exactly you got to do. You're not really noticing the relativity between one step and the next step and how they're connected, okay? Come to notice that process in my art when I'm drawing. It starts off rough with like a pencil sketch, and then you go back in, or actually when you're starting you're very sketchy, you draw lines over and over again, and it's not that smooth, it's not that straight or direct because you're unsure how to draw it, and you go back in fixing stuff, cleaning things up, making it more refined, that sort of thing, and it becomes a more refined image that has more defined lines and shapes and things like that, okay? So you see that process in art, but you could also see that process in other things that you do, like for example the way that you're talking. I want to get better at talking, and I notice doing these videos I have to keep recording them over and over again because I might mess up something that I'm saying. The words might not come out exactly right, and that's kind of like a sketchy, rough process similar to drawing, art, and that sort of thing. Going over the same line over and over again as you're sketching stuff makes it all kind of rough, and or you might not speak very directly. You might be unsure of like which words to use, and your volume might be low and that sort of thing. Kind of like when you're drawing very lightly, you know, you're not sure, you're just kind of like feeling it out. Same thing happens when you're talking and listening to yourself. Sometimes I record these videos over and over again, just trying to get it exactly how I want it to. Basically erasing the previous recordings, just like you might erase a line on a piece of paper and that sort of stuff. But that's not all. It doesn't apply to just those things. It applies to basically everything. For example, another example might be like exercising at a gym, you know, trying to develop your muscles or fitness level, that sort of thing. And so you might start with light weights and, you know, do a lot of reps, you know, over and over again, similar to like drawing the line over and over again, trying to figure out exactly how to get it more defined and you know, stand out and that sort of stuff. It's basically the same thing with your muscles, and you're like building up the layers of muscle fibers and that sort of stuff, making it stronger, just like you're building up the layers in an image or a painting, you know, layering the paint on top of other paint, adjusting the color in like subtle ways. The same thing happens like when you're exercising, developing your muscle. It becomes the shape becomes a little more subtle as it builds up. The differences in your toning, I guess is the word. And just like how I'm trying to talk about it, I haven't really talked about this before, so it's a little rough in the way that I'm trying to describe these things. Just like how a piece of art starts rough. You know, I'm kind of repeating myself because this process repeats in everything, okay? And it kind of reminds you of this pattern that's occurring and allows you to kind of wake up to this understanding that is there, that allows you to understand what's going on in reality, basically anything in reality. If you're trying to get into a certain line of work or career or a profession, that sort of thing, requires the same process where you start off rough, you don't really know all that much about the subject and that sort of thing. In those cases, it's about your mind, building up layers, being more sure of yourself as to what certain facts are and or what isn't true or is true. If you want to like do something, if you have something you want to do, or yeah, you just got to start rough. You got to expect it to start rough. You have to expect it to start kind of shaky, and for a lot of people that prevents them from starting. You know, seeing themselves not be good at something prevents them from trying to do it any further, because it kind of frustrates them or makes them believe that they can't do it. But that's how it is in the beginning. You're not supposed to be able to do something in the beginning if you haven't done it before. How would you be able to know that that you'd be able to do it, right? If you don't like try and develop that, right? So there are certain limits as to how much you can do something. For example, how much weight you can lift. There are physical limits involved with everything, because that's just the way reality is, you know. Everything kind of lives in some balanced way, and yeah, like for example, right now, this is an exact example of what a limit is. When I'm thinking, I don't know how to continue. I'm going up against some sort of mental limit. I've kind of covered a certain space or part of the image, and I might have reached the edge, and I'm not sure like where else to go with it, and so I'm kind of forced back onto the things that we were talking about, things that we're trying to develop to try and make it more refined and that sort of stuff. Okay. Or I could start over with another page and just with another subject and that sort of thing, and take it somewhere else. So there are limits to stuff, but that's all right. Don't get frustrated by that, because that's to be expected. Just like I'm trying not to be frustrated with the rough nature of me trying to explain this, because I know a lot of people might be turned off from that. This is a way for me to try and develop that and become better at it, and also develop better videos. See, developing videos and doing YouTube stuff, that's kind of another thing that you kind of have to develop and go through a process, of building it up, becoming more familiar with all the different characteristics involved and things that are important to that sort of line of work, basically. I know these videos, like in this specific case, it may not be that interesting because the camera's just set down in one location and you're looking at one scene and it doesn't really change all that much, so it's not very dynamic, and you're kind of forced to listen to all the words that I'm saying, and that's kind of a little forced. I understand that's not really the best way to create videos. You have to create a lot of different segments and make the whole experience interesting throughout the entire time of the video. Yeah. So the more I do this, the better I'll become at it, and I'll try different things as well. Like one thing I want to try is to make different segments and kind of have some sense of order or a way of orientating things. I feel like that will kind of create the impression of something that's more refined, something that will like pull you in or through this journey, and so it won't feel as forced or isolated and that sort of thing. So that's something I'm thinking about doing. Anyways, I'm kind of rambling, so I'll stop it here.